Also tonight, we speak to the Croatian man who was beaten unconscious and whose friend was killed in a hate-fueled attack in Dublin.
Then they started like speak bloody Irish, you disrespect our country, you bloody immigrant, things like that.
Dragi Hrvati koji živite u Irskoj, do nas je stigla tragična vijest o smrti našeg sumještanina i sunarodnjaka Josipa Štroka i ozljedama koje je pretrpio njegov prijatelj David Ružinić u činu bezumnog nasilja u četvrti Klondakin u Dublinu. Organizacije ljudi ispred profita zajedno sa mjesnom zajednicom u Klondakinu održat će bdjenje za Josipa Štroka i njegovu obitelj u petak 12.4.2024. godine u 18 sati 30 minuta na Grange Roadu u Klondakinu na Main Greenu. Dođite i pokažite podršku obitelji Josipa Štroka, prijateljima i široj zajednici u Klondakinu u ovom teškom trenutku.
I want to extend my condolences to the family and friends of Josip Strok, a 31-year-old Croatian man who was brutally murdered by racist thugs in Clondalkin and Dublin a few days ago. I also want to extend my thoughts and solidarity to David Druznik, who was beaten unconscious by the same gang. Mr. Speaker, this tragic attack is what happens when the far right are allowed to spread hate about migrants, refugees and asylum seekers. This is what happens when a group of liars are emboldened to spin false narratives about anyone who doesn't fit their warped Irish archetype. Belfast, we've seen migrants burnt out of their areas, racist signs erected by loyalist paramilitaries, and Nazi flags erected outside a mosque in my constituency. And over the weekend, Mr. Speaker, we saw the despicable racist graffiti spread in the home of Takura McConey, and I want to take this opportunity once again to send my solidarity to him and his family. These events are not representative of the majority here. They are not carried out in our name, and shame on those who do carry them out. However, Mr. Speaker, racism is not innate to working class communities. It is a top-down ideology that is peddled by governments who want to divide us. The Tories like Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael want us to focus on each other rather than their blatant attacks on our communities, and we need to fight back against racism and condemn it everywhere it appears.
I want to raise the case of Josip Strok, who was the 31-year-old Croatian who was brutally killed in Clondalkin last week. He was walking home with a friend, just going about his life normally, and he and his friend were attacked with a gang. And the reason, allegedly, is because they were told you should speak English. It was a racist attack. His friend was knocked unconscious and woke up to the news that Josip Strok was dead. And for any family to discover this, I just think it's horrific. That his father then has to come to repatriate the body to Croatia. He's made some of his organs available. I just think it's horrible that this country has come to this, to see this level of racism. And unfortunately, some of the language that we see in public debate is contributing toward this. I don't believe that some of the horrible anti-immigrant rhetoric that we are hearing is acceptable, but it is contributing to the environment that seems to allow this kind of thing to happen. So I would hope you would join with me to extend our sympathies to Josip Strok and indeed to the Croatian community in Ireland because of this horrible attack.
Zamoszczanie śmierci. Boże, zaci poznało mnie, moje ustne, moje kosze imię, swoją nadzieję sada ostawiam żalu, ocaliwe, zamoszczanie śmierci.
Sending the deepest condolences of both myself and the Socialist Party to the family and friends of Josip Strok and to our friends from the Croatian community here today. Our thoughts are also with his friend David as he recovers from his injuries. Now, a number of months ago, in the aftermath of the Dublin riots, we saw government party TDs and ministers come out and say how shocked they were, how this was so unexpected, how it had come out of nowhere. Meanwhile, the socialist left and anti-racist campaigners, we weren't shocked. We've been warning for months that something like that was bound to happen. How could it not, with the far right running rampant all over the country, blockading accommodation centres, burning them down, assaulting LGBTQ plus people and intimidating migrants and asylum seekers, with nothing being done to stop them? At times, the Gardaí don't even bother to show up when it's reported that the far right have violently assaulted people. Now, on that occasion, during the riots, due in no small part to the heroic actions of a Brazilian man, Paulo Benicio, who tackled the attacker, there was loss of life was avoided on that occasion. But since then, nothing has been done to protect people from this growing threat. And now, in the latest incidents of far-right violence, a man lies dead, murdered for the crime of speaking his own language. Reports say that he was kicked to death by 4 racist thugs who were saying things like, "Speak English, and this is Ireland." That's what the far-right and their supporters think Ireland is. A country where they can indiscriminately attack and murder a foreign person just for not speaking English. Josip's death wasn't an accident or an episode, but part of the growth of the far-right forces in Ireland. It's the price we're paying for austerity, for the housing crisis, for the inequalities laid bare by COVID. With a decade of house prices rising to insane levels, banks, funds and corporations extracting massive wealth from this country, all at the expense of the homeless, the unemployed, precarious workers, migrants and people paying sky-high rent and mortgages. Successive governments, dominated by the traditional capitalist parties of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, facilitate profiteering at every turn and have built up a deep reservoir of pain and rage in society. And the far right have been able to tap into that and exploit it. And they've scapegoated migrants, blaming them for all the ills in society to serve their racist agenda. The far right have been able to gain ground because of the massive social crisis we have here, but also because of the lack of a strong trade union movement or socialist politics to provide a better explanation. This is going to get worse before it gets better unless we do something about it. Anti-racist organisations, socialists left and trade unions need to make a stand against far-right violence and intimidation now. But the scourge of far-right politics, of racism, sexism, homophobia and ableism, all forms of bigotry and discrimination, will always be present in our society as long as we suffer under the yoke of capitalist oppression. A system that doesn't just thrive on division, it needs to keep the working class divided. It needs to, and fighting amongst ourselves for its very survival. You can't have capitalism without racism. The words of the civil rights leader Malcolm X are still as relevant today as when he first said them. He also said, we're not outnumbered, we're out-organised. That means we need to get active now to end the rule of this system and build a socialist alternative. It means uniting working class people of all countries and all genders in a struggle to take economic and political power from the billionaires and big business and placing their vast resources into democratic public ownership. We need to fight for public homes for everyone and invest in public services, not division. This movement has to stand squarely and resolutely against the whole capitalist establishment and system. A system of crisis, poverty, inequality, homelessness, climate chaos and genocidal wars. A system that is increasingly a breeding ground for far-right filth. Our strongest answer is working class solidarity and the socialist transformation of society. Thank you.